Michael was no longer the host?
No, they're still in.
Right, as of a certain
we-
point, but what if they came on later? I mean, what if they tried to?
Because I
It
made
looks
the
like the same group to me.
Okay.
There's a couple more on there that weren't on there, actually.
Right, there are. I see them.
Patrick, how do you see them?
Okay,
You go
Alfred,
click on that participants button,
do we have somebody named Alfred? He wants to speak.
then you go to attendee.
Let's go through. That's what I'm saying. Did you make me a co-host, the host? Carmen.
Make
Oh,
host.
there we go.
Okay, you've got it.
Okay. So.
Now, before we have anyone speak, we should probably go ahead and convene.
Well, hold on 1 minute. Let me, are we ready? Because I got to hit a couple of buttons here.
Okay, well, we are recording, or I had it recording. I had just started it.
Okay. Okay, if you want to start, I have a couple of things while you're doing that.
Okay. This is the Crescent City Regular City Commission meeting, August 13th, 2020. We are now in session. We're going to call to order invocation. Commissioner Banks, would you like to do the invocation?
Yes, sir. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Father, we thank you tonight for your love and your kindness and your mercy. God, we pray for this virus that is going around, destroying our people. God, we pray that you continue, God, over our city, God, over our citizens, and continue to bless us and put your approval upon this meeting. We ask this in your son Jesus' name. Amen.
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 We'll do the pledge at this point. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There's a little bit of delay, so that's always tough to do. The additions, deletions, and modifications to the agenda. Because we didn't have the workshop last week, we're going to table discussion on the budget.
Right.
Because we didn't have the budget workshop, so everything else will remain on the agenda. Recognitions, proclamations, presentations. I can say that to the, and I do want to say, boy, when I stick my head at the meeting or at the city hall, you guys have really been busy there. You've had the budget to get together, the election tasks with taking care of signature cards and so on to get that sent up to Palaca, the qualifications, the paperwork. Everyone has been extremely busy. And we also have new software we're trying to put in. It's not only billing, but it's checks and a whole new system being put together. So it's been a very trying time up there at City Hall. And just a shout out from me from all what you guys are doing up there. Looks like you are putting in the extra time and getting it done. And I see it and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Under 3 additions, deletions, and modifications to the agenda, I have a concern that I became aware of yesterday about how the implementation of the tree plan is being handled. We could put that under general business, or we could put it under the city manager's report.
About what is being handled, I'm sorry?
About how the tree plan that we voted on, I believe at the last meeting, is being implemented. I have a concern about that.
Okay, let's go ahead. I mean, there's a way you had popped up with a few items last meeting. And I think we can put things on the, let me finish now.
Right.
I think we can put things on the agenda, but we need to have some time to do that. So why don't we put that down into additional reports and comments under city commission comments, and we could talk about it at length there.
Okay, but Mayor, I just want to make sure you heard what I said. It's something that I just became aware of yesterday
Okay.
by chance. So, and it's important, but if we're guaranteed to talk about it under city commission, that's fine with me.
Okay. Anything else? All right. We have public comment. Deb, do we have any letters, emails that need to be read before we get started?
There is no public comment.
Okay. We have under consent agenda, the city commission meetings minutes from July 9th, 2020. We each have a copy. We've each looked it over. If there's no objection.
I have one item on page 3. Okay,
Continue.
should I go ahead? Okay, on page 3 under city attorney reports and comments, I think that 2 different issues kind of got confused here. The very first line says, Jay Asbury reported that he has drafted an ordinance to change to a special magistrate for code enforcement cases, but needs guidance from the commission. And maybe Jay can help here, but I thought what Jay said was he reported that he has not been able to draft an ordinance. I would take out drafted and say not been able to draft, and needs guidance from the commission. And then in the second paragraph there, he asked to hire Patrick Kennedy to assist him with reviewing the ordinances relating to code enforcement so he could draft the magistrate revision. That was only a matter of less than $500 in the budget. I don't think he was asking for approval to redraft all the ordinances, even though that's what he recommended. And we did not have an ordinance at the last meeting. I think he was saying he had not been able to draft it yet and he needed the assistance.
Well, I think talking about your second paragraph there, and Jay, please come in with your comments on this. He just wanted to be transparent and talking about codification, that he would be seeking Patrick's help looking at some of the paperwork on this, some of the documents, and that paying him out of the $4,000 budget that he's already been given. Did anyone have any hard feelings about it? And nobody did.
Right, I know, but the way this reads, it says to assist him with reviewing the ordinances for recodification. He's asking for assistance with the code enforcement ordinances so he could draft the magistrate ordinance, not the.
Now wait, excuse me, but I think the whole thing's off base. What I said was,
Yes.
Is that I had drafted the ordinance that was requested on the magistrate.
Okay.
And I asked permission to have Patrick review to make sure it fit with our other enforcement code and also our other codes. And the discussion went on, but that's basically what I asked. I just wanted to be sure y'all were on board with me spending a couple $100 with Patrick. But the ordinance is drafted and it's in your packet tonight. Patrick has reviewed it. He made some comments as to the land use ordinance, and so it's ready. But that's really what I was asking for. I don't know how it came out or what y'all thought I said, but that's basically what I was asking for then. I might have said it was my understanding that it would be that we were eventually going to use Patrick in reviewing the whole set of ordinances. What I meant last time was that I have everybody's okay, green light, to have Patrick review the proposed ordinance to see if it fit with everything else. And
That's what I remember.
It's
Right.
okay.
So the second paragraph then would need to reflect that he was asking for permission to hire
I-
Patrick Kennedy.
I
to-
don't see that in conflict with what Jay Asbury just said.
Because he asked for permission to hire Patrick to review the magistrate ordinances for correctness, not all the ordinances for recodification. So completely different issue. Jay just said it. Jay
Well,
just said what he did. He asked for Patrick to review the draft magistrate ordinance. He didn't ask for authority to do an entire recodification from the
Well,
legal budget.
You know, we talked about this at that time, and our attorney, Jay Asbury, has a $4,000 budget that he can use at his discretion. And I think when we ended our discussion on that, we were okay with him using whoever he wanted to review or help with city business to review documents. I don't think this is in conflict with that.
Well, Jay is just, yes, it is. The minutes should reflect what was done. And Jay has just clarified that he was asking approval to hire Mr. Kennedy to review the magistrate ordinance that he had just drafted. That is what Jay just said. It's on the tape. And we should not be changing what Jay said to make it look like we authorized something different, because that's not what he asked for. And we should reflect it accurately.
Well, the bottom line though, Lisa, is I would never ask to use Patrick or anybody else to recodify our ordinances, because that would take about probably 10 of my annual budgets to get that done. That's 20, 30,000 minimum job.
Yes, and Jay, that is why I'm suggesting, so that it doesn't look odd and so that it is not inaccurate, that it simply should be changed to reflect what you actually requested, because that is what minutes are supposed to do.
Commissioner West, do you have any comment on that?
I'm kind of confused. Jay asked for,
My God.
well,
You know, I was going to ask for a motion to pass the minutes as written.
he asked if he could hire Patrick to assist him with reviewing ordinances for recodification from the legal budget.
Oh.
And then we agreed to approve his use of outside counsel at his discretion within his budget. Well, you've got a $4,000 budget that's going to be eaten up pretty quickly.
Yep.
But we do have a draft in back in our papers here. I don't know. I don't see what the problem
You know,
is.
the point for me is, I think when we ended that conversation last month, was that he was making us aware that Jay was, that he would like to use Patrick from time to time to look at legal documents for review. And
Right.
I made sure that we weren't going to, be nitpicking on that he had discretion over that $4,000 to spend as he pleases. I don't see this in conflict with that. I'd like to get a motion to pass this as written.
I so move.
Commissioner Banks, do we have a second?
No, I'm not going to second call it until I get better clarification.
Okay,
It's not clear.
okay.
I think we're talking about, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I think we're talking about two different things, the way I see it, hear it, if I'm not wrong. we talking about, Patrick, Jay wanna get Patrick on this one ordinance. But then again, now like the minister reading that we want to obtain him to work on the rest of the ordinance of the city. Is I'm saying that right? Or
That's
I'm-
what I understand.
You know, if the rest of the ordinance, I think we had a little bit of a budget, or we've talked about that.
Yeah,
The recodification, that's going to have to go out on bid. Okay,
Right.
that's a separate issue.
Oh.
The way I understand it is that Jay was letting us know that he was asking if anyone had any heartburn about him using Patrick from time to time to overlook documents and so on. And that was discussed. I don't think anybody at the time did. So,
No. Mayor,
sir,
the next sentence after that says, after discussion, the commissioners agreed to approve Attorney Asbury's use of outside counsel at his discretion within his budget. That kind of answers it right there.
Yep.
He does not have the funds in his budget to go out and do a recodification of all of our code of ordinances or the land development code.
or the authority.
Yes, but so what I am saying as a courtesy to Mr. Asbury and also to accurately reflect what he said, and he just stated what he was requesting, but as a courtesy to him, I think we should accurately say he had approval to hire a city manager to assist him with reviewing the magistrate ordinance for recodification. That is what he said. And it makes him, well, I mean, he says that would not be a reasonable request. So what we have written here is that he was making an unreasonable request. He just said what he actually stated. He asked us for authority to use Mr. Kennedy to review the code, the magistrate ordinance. And then we gave him the authority to use outside counsel at his discretion. So what I am suggesting is that we accurately reflect what he asked for. That would be very courteous to him.
We've already approved Jay to use outside counsel at his discretion.
Mayor, there's an inaccuracy in the minutes. They should act, we should just take it out, but it should accurately reflect what.
I don't see a conflict.
What do you want to change, Lisa?
Well, okay.
You want that the sentence that starts Attorney Jay asked if he'd approval? Do you want that one changed?
Correct.
Okay, what would you want it changed to?
Was reviewing, okay. Delete the words ordinances for recodification and insert the draft magistrate ordinance. That's what he asked for.
I don't have any problems with that. Do you want me to rescind my motion?
Well, we don't have a second, so go ahead.
All right, I rescind my original motion to accept the minutes as is.
Well,
And Lisa, you want to read the sentence the way that you want, that we need to change with the change in it?
right. I'm suggesting that we read the sentence. Attorney Asbury asked if he has approval to hire previous city manager Patrick Kennedy to assist him with reviewing, and then strike ordinances for recodification and insert the
Draft
How about if
magistrate.
we took that paragraph out? It's one sentence. Just take it out.
well, then it doesn't make any sense.
We had a discussion, and the commission approved Attorney Asbury's use of outside counsel at his discretion, basically. So,
Well,
it's
wasn't
not.
I making a motion?
It would.
I thought
The thing is, I think we're just going around in a big circle. The thing is, the way I understand it, I did not need approval to hire Patrick for a few $100s to review anything. All I was really doing is being transparent with the commission and saying, hey, does anybody have any problem with me doing this? If a couple of people started raising Cain, then I guess we'd consider going in a different direction. That was my deal. I don't think I needed formal vote or anything, but that was my intent.
Right.
I don't care how you change it.
Right. I'm trying to, that was your intent. And my goal is that the minutes accurately reflect your intent. And it would be very simple. I was in the middle of speaking to say to assist him with reviewing the draft magistrate ordinance from the legal budget. That is how the whole thing came up. That's what you said. So I think that's what we should say. And I move to accept the minutes as written, with the exception of clarifying in that line that Attorney Asbury was seeking assistance with reviewing the draft magistrate ordinance from the legal budget. And then everything else is perfect.
I second that.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and I'm not going to discuss this anymore. Let's get this behind us. I'm disgusted is what I am. Roll call, please, Deb. I'll tell you what, all in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Aye.
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 Okay, it's unanimous. All right, boy, we couldn't even get past the minutes. All right. Draft budget. Okay, that's been tabled. Code enforcement magistrate discussion. Jay, is that your presentation?
Yes. Each of you have.
Can I interrupt for a second, Mayor?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Are we going to hear the hearing for the New Salem since we have them here? Did you want to do that, or?
Sure. You want to put them up first?
Yeah, since we have Patrick and we have the New Salems, and they've been kind of
Okay.
waiting patiently, even with all the move and everything. So
Yep. Yeah, we could get caught up for 45 minutes on that item. All right, so public hearings, we have a first reading of the ordinance 2001. Is that what you're talking about?
yes.
Amending the future land use map. Okay, so let me get that. 20-01.
We're waiting to bring in the New Salems right now.
Okay.
So as we bring them in, Mr. Kennedy, he's still on camera. So this is two ordinances, two first readings. The first one is amendment for future land use map parcel. Mr. Kennedy has been assisting in planning and zoning issues as we kind of transition since he's left. So, and he's familiar with something he was working on before I got here. And we've been working together on this. So if he can kind of have the floor and hear the New Salems. So I'm going to kind of turn this a little so we can see them, so they can be on camera. Get everybody in here.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Did you get it? I can.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Let's try to get everybody in here.
I see him.
Okay, so Mr. Kennedy, do you want to give some background?
Yeah, as Mr. Esposito indicated, I was actually working with Muslims before I left on the best approach for them to achieve their goals with their property there on North Summit Street, just a little bit north of our park, Fletcher Park, and Sicily's restaurant. And they basically want to continue to use it as residential. I think a couple of you were on the commission back in 2006, 2007. The property was originally annexed, and then it was rezoned to commercial, and the future land use was changed to commercial. The folks who had purchased it and annexed and went through that process had a plan for this property and the property to the west across Highway 17 as a kind of large-scale development with commercial, multifamily, and marina. They were kind of not really developers. They were just trying to vest some rights is the way I viewed it. But in any event, the bubble burst on the real estate market. They lost the property, and it was continued to be used residential. Been residential historically. It has had more than one residence on it, as has neighboring properties in the past. In any event, the current applicants are seeking to have a caretaker residence for their, forgive me if I don't remember, but son or a daughter, but they want him to be able to live on the property and help them as needed as they live there too. So they wanted to have two houses on one parcel. They have a little over an acre of land, almost an acre and a half. It's kind of narrow, but it does have room for an additional home. But the only way we can do that under our current code would be multifamily zoning. Multifamily, just to be clear, allows for single-family residences or single-family style residences. It doesn't have to be multifamily, but it does allow for more than one single-family residence. But that would require a change in the comp plan as well. So item number one, the comp plan would be changed from commercial to residential low. This would limit the density to no more than 4 units per acre, and given the configuration of the land, they're pretty much going to be limited to the 2 houses. If they wanted to subdivide or do something different, they could, but they're never going to get more than 4 homes, possibly 5. But, you know, it's just realistically 2 is probably the max. So the comp plan doesn't open the door wide open, more development than what they're asking, but allows them to have the quiet enjoyment use of their land with their son in residence to help take care of them and help them take care of the property. So on the comp plan amendment, staff is recommending approval as requested, and staff is also recommending approval of the companion rezoning from commercial to multifamily residential.
So that was it, and that pretty much, any questions on?
Does that property have city water and sewer?
It's not.
It'd be tough to put more than a home or 2 on there with septic, wouldn't it?
Correct.
Okay.
Mayor, I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm a little confused about the timeline of this. On the paperwork that we have, the staff report, which of course, Patrick, it's always very clear, thank you, except it says the Planning and Zoning Commission date was January 30th of this year.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so.
Which we had covered in a meeting. You and I had spoken about this a month ago.
No.
Yes.
Okay, but.
Zoning meeting.
No. Whatever it was we said, it doesn't clarify what I see here. Okay, so I just want to get this straight. Planning and Zoning Commission met on January 30th, but we don't have the report from Planning and Zoning. Is that correct? There's no written report other than the staff report. Is that right?
There's typically no report from the Planning and Zoning Commission other than they did the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I should have indicated that. I believe the January 30th is a typo. I can't remember the date of the meeting, but it was right when the doors open and right before they close back up. Was that January 30th, Michael?
No, not January 30th.
Yeah, it's June.
Yeah.
June 30th. So that's just a typo on my part.
Yeah, June.
Staff report.
So the planning, okay, because I couldn't figure out why there would be a planning and zoning meeting and we would not be hearing this for 8 months later. So
No, it was June 30th, I believe. But it was again, it's right when they you guys reopened the doors, and this was like the last public meeting in City Hall before they were closed again.
Okay, that makes
is that-
much more sense
That
because,
answers your question then?
well, I have a couple more questions. Because the city manager had said you and he had been working on this, so it wouldn't really make sense if the planning and zoning meeting took place in January that you were still continuing to work on it, because that's usually the final meeting, correct, Patrick? I mean, after it goes to planning and zoning, then it goes to the
Yeah,
commission.
if they make a formal recommendation, it comes to you guys, which they did make a recommendation of approval. I should have said that in my presentation, but
No, it's in here. I just couldn't figure out the timeline. And then as well, it's my understanding that it doesn't say in the report that some kind of notice is supposed to go out to the neighbors.
It had, we covered, the neighbors went out. We did get one, the neighbor that was adjoining that sent the letter of approval.
Okay, because that should be somewhere in the record. Okay, so adjoining neighbor approves. Okay, and then how are we exactly handling public comment with this? Because the public doesn't have the ability to call in, and we require the public comment to be submitted 30 hours before the meeting. Right? This is new ground here.
And no one did any public.
if I may, public comment is the more critical issue would be factual testimony. If there's anybody who wants to be a part of the meeting for factual testimony, we need to try to make them available. But general public comment that's not factual testimony.
You're right.
Isn't critical, isn't necessary, but I think would maybe require that Mike be able to let them in to the meeting if they have their hand raised to make a comment. So I don't know, but it is difficult to manage. I've actually been keeping up with what other jurisdictions are doing. And, they're trying, some of them are trying to allow public comment, and some of them just don't allow public comment. They just take factual testimony when it's a quasi-judicial proceeding.
And we had no
What their normal practice is, which ours is, to take public comment.
Right, but I guess I'm more concerned about whether we have properly let people know that if they have factual testimony or public input, which you usually take, how they would make that request. And
Well,
right. There's opportunity planning and zoning. There's been opportunity, there's been advertisement for it. We've got no solicitation to do any kind of testimony at all.
I'm just asking the question because this is a rezoning, and we're in new territory here. So it seems important to do it properly. So I was hoping that Patrick Kennedy or Jay would have something to say about whether we've adequately given an opportunity for that factual testimony.
I think we have. I mean, we've done the letter notice, we've done the newspaper notice, we've done all the notices required.
Okay.
To the person who wants to be a part of the meeting to contact City Hall and let them know.
You have any other questions?
I do think there is an attendee that has their hand up. I don't know if it's for
I
this.
don't know who that is, and I don't know about if they're going to make a comment on this or they're going to. I don't know I don't know how that is. And there's been an attendee. There's two, and they want to make comments.
Right.
Allow them to talk, and you can get comment if they want to comment on this issue.
Right, and I just have one more question for Patrick. And Patrick, I had understood that you would be representing the applicant in a private capacity, but apparently that is not the case. You're
not on this matter. No, this matter I'm handling is for the city.
okay, but do you have a planning and zoning practice now?
Yes.
Okay.
It's part of my legal practice and consulting. I do have a consulting fee when it's pure planning. I do a different fee, but legal something. Yeah, it's generally the planning, zoning, local government, and real estate.
Okay, and there's no conflict for you to work for the city and represent, provide the staff report and then also practice planning and zoning before the city?
No, I'm not representing the applicants in this case, so there's no conflict.
Okay, but you may represent other applicants in the future on the applicant side, correct?
It could happen. Hasn't happened yet, but it could happen.
I
Okay.
think he's answered your question. Anything else?
I would suggest that the applicants have the opportunity to speak if they want before you take the public comment. If necessary.
My name is Linda Salem. Basically, what we're trying to do is to give my son and my granddaughters the opportunity to live on the property with us. We're both senior citizens, and we need to have some help, and we're trying to help them. The property is large enough for an additional home. And so we're just, and the surrounding properties that are around us have more than one residential unit on it. So, I mean, I don't think that we're making a request to change the zoning to hurt or influence any type of negative rezoning at all on any of the surrounding properties or within the city of Crescent City. I
know the home next to you does have a second residence. Yes.
Yes, it does.
You're out of order, Judy.
Sorry.
As well as the home on the other side of my neighbor has a second residence on it. So it's not as though this is just single family, one dwelling per residential site or commercial site. So there's a multitude of structures on surrounding properties. So we would appreciate your, consideration for our request, which neither my husband nor I feel that it is an unreasonable request.
Okay. Anyone else like to speak on this? I guess I should, we have a hand up here. Let me hear what this person has here. Allow to talk, I guess. Tracy, unmute yourself. You have a question or a comment? I see your microphone's blocked there, so we can't hear you. Okay.
Or sign language for unmute?
Well, she is unmuted, but I'm not hearing her. I'm sorry. We don't have a picture or either her microphone isn't working or something. Sorry about that. Okay. Here.
I will say this: there is a second hearing for adoption that is required, so there'll be more opportunity for input and factual input and public comment. So anybody listening, Tracy, who was not able to get in, maybe if she wants to make sure she gets written comments into you guys, just to be on the safe side for the next meeting on this.
Right. Okay.
Right.
I think at this time, Jay, let me know if, or Patrick, if I want to just go ahead and read the ordinance number 20-01, and then we can talk about getting a motion. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes.
That's the way we've done it before.
All right. Ordinance number 20-01, an ordinance of the Commission of the City of Crescent City, Florida, amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan by amending the future land use map to change the designation on 1.43 acres of real property more fully described below from commercial to residential low and setting forth an effective date. Whereas the City Commission of City of the City of Crescent City has hereto ordinance number 91-11, subsequently amended, duly adopted a comprehensive plan in compliance with the provisions of Part 2, Chapter 163, Florida statutes. And whereas the City of Crescent City Planning and Zoning staff accepted an application from the property owner requesting the comprehensive plan's future land use plan map designation on 1.43 acres of real property, more properly described below. Whereas the request comprehensive plan amendment is directly related to the proposed small-scale development activity. And whereas the request comprehensive plan amendment involves a use of land less than 10 acres in size. And there's several more whereas.
Yeah, you actually have to read the title. You don't have to read the whole whereases. Unless you really want to.
Being enacted by the City Commission of the City of Crescent City, Florida, that Section 1, the future land use designation on 1.43 acres of real property, more particularly described below. Section 2, the City Administrator is hereby authorized and directed to transmit copies of the notice of this adoption comprehensive plan small-scale future land use map amendment to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, Division of Community Development, 107 East Madison Street, Tallahassee, Florida, as specified in the department procedural rules. Section 3, the effective date of the comprehensive plan amendment shall be 31 days after transmittal of the Department of Economic Opportunity, provided, however, that if challenged on or before 30th day following transmittal to the Department of Economic Opportunity, this comprehensive plan amendment shall not become effective until the Department of Economic Opportunity or the Administration Commission respectively issues a final order determining that the adopted small-scale development amendment is in compliance. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon its adoption. Passed and adopted on second reading by, and we're going to have that second reading at a future date. So this is ordinance number 20-01. Do we have any further discussion? Do I hear a motion?
I motion.
To move that we accept ordinance number 2001.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Banks, a second by Commissioner West. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And
We have a motion of 4.
okay. Very good.
Just so it's clear for the applicants and everyone listening, that is really just moving it forward. Adoption will be at the second hearing.
Correct.
When is that date?
Well,
It will be.
It'll be the next regular meeting, I believe, Michael.
We could do it at the workshop, could we not?
It's on the bottom of the ordinance.
I think it's already been noticed for the next regular meeting.
Okay.
Correct. Next regular meeting.
don't we have 2 ordinances?
We do.
Yeah, there's another one, rezoning.
There's another one.
First reading of ordinance 20- wait a minute, 20-
All you have to read is the title, Mayor, just the title.
Okay. First reading of ordinance 20-02, rezoning parcel 18-12-28-0000-0150-0000 from general commercial, that's GC-1 to multifamily residential, which is MR-1. We have analysis from staff.
Yeah, well, I kind of
the same thing.
my
Okay.
analysis. Yeah.
Do I hear a motion?
Move.
I'll second.
Okay, just as before, a motion by Commissioner Banks, a second by Commissioner West. Any further discussion or questions?
Yes, I would like to say one thing to the applicants, to Mr. and Mrs. Musalem. I think I certainly don't want you to feel that because I ask questions or anyone asks questions that your request is unreasonable. You probably know that rezonings and comp plan amendments are very technical, and asking questions and making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed is important for the public and also for the success of your request. So it doesn't mean that anything is unreasonable. And thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If no one has any other comment or question, all those in favor say aye. Raise your
Aye.
hand. Aye. Okay.
Unanimous.
All right. Thank you very much.
Jay, you don't need me for the special magistrate discussion, do you?
I don't believe so. No, sir. Thanks.
All right, I'm going to sign off. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye,
Good
Patrick.
seeing you again.
Bye. Yeah. It's far away.
Thank you.
I'm going to let Tracy still has her hand up. I'm going to ask,
Do you have any, you want to do public comment?
if she unmutes herself. Does she ever get that microphone working? She's muted right now. If she can hear me, unmute yourself. Because she had her hand up again. I don't know if she just didn't put her hand down. Okay. All right, well, let's move on. So we have we're going back up to the code enforcement magistrate discussion, which is 8B on your agenda. And Jay, do you have it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you got the floor.
Okay, this ordinance is in response to the mayor and fellow commissioners had asked for a draft ordinance so that the commission could consider going from the present code board to a special magistrate. And the draft, if you all will, please review that when you get a chance. Open to any suggestions you may have, but basically what it does, instead of a code board, the city appoints a special magistrate. And I've made provisions in the ordinance that does not have to be the same person. Over and over, you can get more than one special magistrate. I would imagine that down here in Crescent City, we'll be somewhat limited to who may want to come and serve. But they basically, the city presents the case through the code enforcement official and or the city attorney, and presents the city's case to the magistrate. And of course, the person or persons who have been written up in a violation have a chance to defend themselves and present their case. And the special magistrate will make a decision. From my research, the special magistrate form of enforcement, code enforcement, seems to work more efficiently. In other words, sort of like having a judge, and they hear the case, they make a decision. That's how it works. The compensation that we might have to pay is negotiable. I can't imagine it being a whole lot. And this is not the only form of enforcement. I mean, we can use any form of enforcement that is at our disposal under state law or local ordinances. But the magistrate would handle probably most of our cases that come before him or her. So that's the gist of it. It would eliminate the code board, which may or may not be politically feasible. I don't know the ramifications of that. I don't know how the commission feels about it, or the the public at large, but it seems to work in other jurisdictions pretty dadgum good. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer.
You don't.
I have a question. Couple of questions. Jay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, I lost track of it, but I noticed there's a place in here. This seems to give a lot of discretion to the code enforcement officer. Somewhere in here, it says that the code enforcement officer, I think, can, in the case of a first-time violation of the city code, the code enforcement officer shall notify the violator and give him or her a reasonable time to correct the violation. Is that typical of ordinances to just say a reasonable time?
That per state statute 162, that's what you do to get compliance. You give them a reasonable time, and reasonable time depends on if it's an emergency. If you're asking somebody to cut high grass as opposed to some thing that deals with life safety, so that the reasonable times depending on what the violation is.
Right. Well, I understand that it's harder to get a roof, for example, than to cut grass. But in other jurisdictions, it seems like they have a schedule of times, or, I mean, a suggested schedule of times. But Jay, you think it's better to just have reasonable time? I mean,
Actually, I do. It's very similar to our situation with notice to the public on special meetings. The law provides that we give reasonable notice, and the case law, that the cases that have been decided by the courts, they take it each individual set of circumstances to determine what's reasonable. In other words, notice to the general public that we're having a special meeting to consider a new roof at City Hall. 48 hours may be very reasonable if the roof has fallen in and you all need to make a decision. However, if you're considering rezoning a piece of property, that's not a good example. If you're considering something of less immediate emergency, 10 days may be more reasonable. So I don't see anything wrong with it, but of course I don't see, I mean, if you feel like we need to set forth time frames, I don't have a problem with that.
no, I mean, I really have not.
I think the reason I think we'll be all right is because in any case where you've written a law that someone takes offense to, the burden is on the applicant or the appellant to prove that the city has not been reasonable or that their law is wrong or unconstitutional. So I don't see a problem. It's our law that it's reasonable until a court tells us that that's unreasonable or not.
Right, and that's kind of what I'm getting at, and I can move on to my second question, which is actually it's on page 5, further on down that page. So just in general, I mean, this talks about a hearing room and a hearing and calling witnesses and cross-examination. This sounds like a more formal process than what we have with the Code Enforcement Board. Do people also with the Code Enforcement Board have the ability to cross-examine witnesses and introduce exhibits and all that? Or are we going to a higher level of hearing is really what I'm asking.
No, I don't think so. I think you can present any type of defense or the code official can present as formal of a prosecution as he or she feels necessary to prove the case to the code board or the magistrate. I know it says that. This is basically comes right out of the statute, that wording.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is we're not creating a more formal level of hearing by going to the code magistrate than we already have with the code enforcement board.
No, not from a legal standpoint. Maybe from a practical standpoint, you may want to be better prepared with a magistrate because he or she is going to know, have a moral awareness of whether or not someone's proven their case or defended it properly. I personally, if I was going before a special magistrate, I might prepare a little differently than if I was going before a group of individuals of my own peers. But that was from a practical standpoint. I think,
Okay.
I don't think we're raising the bar or really lowering it. You're just bringing in somebody that deals with that type of thing on a more regular basis, that their job is to hear the evidence, make a fair decision, and get the decision back out and either invoke some punishment or throw the thing away. That's how I look at it. But I'm not advocating for or against this thing. Other places that have used this have told me that they like it. Now, whether it works perfectly in Crescent City, I can't tell you that. I mean, I don't know. And certainly, we're all appreciative of the fact that the individuals that have served on the code board and serve now at no pay should be very much appreciated. So no one that I know of or have spoken to locally on the commission feels like we're trying to eliminate anybody because they're not doing their job. I think it's more looking at a situation that may be a little more efficient. But no, Lisa, I don't think we're raising the bar higher.
Okay. I mean, I'm just trying to understand if we're going to make a change, what that's going to be like in practical terms. And is the fine schedule the same?
Yes.
Okay. That's really all I have.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I would like to ask the attorney a question, please.
Please go ahead.
Mr. Adbury, you think we get quicker action by the magistrate? Once the court will turn it over to him, you think we'll get compliance more quickly?
From what I've been told and what I've observed, the magistrate form of enforcement seems to flow more smoothly, more efficiently, simply because that is the guy or the gal's, the judge's job. I mean, we pay them to come and render a fair decision after hearing both sides, and that their job is to render a decision, and it should happen pretty much like clockwork. But I don't want that many of my remarks to be interpreted that our code board members that have served so graciously over the years and at present are not efficient. I'm just saying the magistrate, that's what he or she does, probably not just in Crescent City. I do, Commissioner Banks, think it if it works like it's supposed to, and we get the right person or persons involved as our magistrate, it should flow somewhat more smoother.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I'm going to.
Hey, one thing, excuse me, one
Sure,
thing I didn't mention from a practical standpoint, Mr. Vito, if we adopt this and it doesn't flow smoothly, you all sit in a position to change the program back to however you want it.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're understanding whatever it is we do.
Mr. Esposito, we have ordinance number at the top, 2020 dash, but we don't have, and maybe that's not important. It would be 03 or something. Are we ready to vote on this for our first reading?
We
It's
did.
it's not been advertised.
Okay. All right.
So,
So it's just to get familiar with it.
Mhm.
Okay.
And this is, once again, this is the first time everybody's seeing it.
Yep.
You know, and then people,
It's been our packet, but yes.
right, it's in your packet. That's why we called it a discussion. It wasn't up for,
Okay.
approval, review and approval.
Very good. Yeah, when Jay and I have talked, and you and I also, Michael, talked about maybe every 90 days or something like that,
Right.
because of the expense and so on. And we'll see how it works. I thought maybe having somebody with a legal background in this type of thing might be beneficial to all parties all the way around. So that was my thinking on it. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions on that?
Well, Mayor, just to respond to what you said, I certainly agreed with your idea that, having a professional might make things go more smoothly, et cetera, et cetera. But given the economic uncertainty, one of my main concerns is that we get a realistic idea of the cost so that we can make sure that it's affordable in our budget. That's just one of my main concerns.
Fair enough. Are we ready to move on to the bid award for the demolition of 105 Cypress Avenue?
Finally, yes. So we re-advertised for the demolition of 105 Cypress Avenue. We did receive 6 bidders. We did have a low bidder from Environmental Land Services. They have done work for us before. I didn't see a problem with the bid that they put in. So we are looking for approval to award them the bid and the contract.
Any discussion?
Well, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
one thing I can say about this company, they do a good job and they do it expeditious. It don't take a long time.
We've had them here before.
I've seen they did some work, I don't know about it, but outside the city,
Okay.
very quickly and do a very good job.
Okay.
Do you want to give us a motion?
I move that we go with the lowest bidder. Environmental Land Services.
I'll second.
Anyone else have a comment? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, we're down to, do you have anything else, Michael, for general business?
I don't have anything for general business.
Okay, we'll move all the way down to additional reports. So I assume you have nothing else, City Attorney?
No, I've got lots of stuff I could talk about. Projects, just update you on what we're
Yes,
doing.
please go ahead.
So projects, update you, CDBG grant, we're still waiting on the 2 trees. We did talk to the nursery. They were supposed to deliver the trees and then Hurricane Isaias came.
Ever.
So kind of push them off a week. We were waiting. They were kind of saying it was going to be here sometime this week. I'm hoping it's in for the weekend if it's not, but they've already guaranteed us to get us the 2 trees. It's just a timing issue. It's kind of moved everybody's schedule.
Right.
So once that's done, we'll be done. We're in the final, just closing that out right now. FDOT SCOP program with the CI services. I had a conversation with DOT on Friday. Next week, we'll be advertising that. It's a 30-day advertising for these construction and inspection services. So once that's done, we'll get a time frame on when that project will start.
Well, what project is that now?
That is the Central Avenue.
Gotcha.
paving.
Okay.
project?
Yep.
Ball field lights, that's out for bid. The bids are due next week. We did have an addendum I issued. There was several questions just for clarity. I've issued that, so we're hoping we get some bidders. I did get some earnest people calling, and there will be people putting in a bid. So I expect that to also move fast, and that'll be on the next agenda.
Okay.
Crescent City Natural Gas is working on a project right now. They're doing some clearing for burying their high pressure gas line. So if you come out of the city, you might see them doing something. You might see a truck or two up there. They're having a contractor work on that right now. Because and people aren't aware, we do provide gas and services outside the city all the way to East Palatka. So you'll see that. Colbert Park water, it's a big thing. We ordered a fountain that should be here. It's just been delivery has been slow, but we should be getting that. I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks. Once that gets in, I've been assured from Public Works that we should be able to get that in rather quickly.
Is the meter already in?
No, we're going to do that all at the same time. So
Okay.
they're going to set the meter. It's going to be a fountain. It'll have a step for the kids to get up, and they'll be able to access it. So once again, hopefully next month I'll be able to report on that. It's in. Speed humps. You saw it. We'll be talking about more on the workshop. But with speed humps, we've ordered signs. We're talking with the paving crew. We're just trying to get that timed out so we can get that in this fiscal year. And I'll be reporting more about that with everybody when they'll be going in and give enough notice for that. Sidewalk project, they are in the final stages of that. The next week, they're still working on signage, and they're going to be starting their FlexiPave installation that goes around the trees. It's a porous material that allows water to go through, but still you can walk on it, drive on it. What else do we have? That's as far as projects go. COVID-19 update. I put on our website, the county informed us. We had a weekly meeting. That was the first meeting I was at, that they talked about numbers and how they're expecting a spike when school starts, probably 2 weeks after school. We might see a spike in the numbers. They did tell us that they are going to have the state's mobile testing unit at the county fairgrounds on August 16th and 18th. I posted it on the website. You should have all gotten those updates. And once again, that was something they were trying to get here in Crescent City, but they weren't able to, but then now they're going to have it there on those 2 dates. So that's a free testing. Let's see what else on as far as issues. Water tower. Once again, we have it. We're just waiting for the crew. Once again, because of the hurricane, that's kind of got put off. The temporary is holding. They'll be coming and doing the permanent patch, and then we should be good to go. So as soon as that happens, I'll let everybody know. Some good news. New restaurant in town. Everybody should know that there's a new Chinese restaurant. It's a fantastic thing to see new businesses. They came in. They were very energetic. They had all their paperwork. It was a good thing to see, and I see the lines, around the block and down 17 sometimes, just trying to get in there. So because it's drive-through only. So. Pump house doors. I know this has been an item. I've talked about the mayor since they started here. We started the pump house that's over near Sunrise Park. It didn't have doors on it. It now has all the doors. We're just waiting for some hardware attachments so we could finish that. Hopefully we get that up there. We get it painted, and you kind of look in the window and see the old motor that's in there, and it'll be a nice thing for the city. Census, something I want to touch on. I'll probably be putting some more stuff on the web and giving you update to Census. They're, now that COVID's been going on a while, and they're really doing a push on the census. We try to need everybody to kind of respond. I took some numbers just really fast on the response rate. So the state of Florida is at 60% response rate. Crescent City is at 48.3. So if we can talk to our neighbors and kind of get them up, and just try to get them to respond online, and you can find all the information. I'll try to get some links together, put them on our website if people don't know, try to get them there so they can respond. But important as far as what the ramifications are when we don't get that, because that has a lot to do with money that gets tied, it gets, it filters down. So, let's see what else.
Who's got the ad machine?
I don't know. Debbie Peacock's here and she doesn't have an adding machine, so normally that's all you hear. I think that's all I had. Sorry, because I got to grab my papers real fast to move over here. If we have any other questions on things.
I have a few questions, but somebody else might want to go first.
I just want to make a comment after Lisa finishes.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay, let me see. So on the multi-use trail, we had talked about this several weeks ago, about the placement of the signs at the corners. Some of them went right through, or tree roots might have been. I think that's Jay with the adding machine, because we don't see his picture. But there is a stop sign that was put in at the corner of Cypress Avenue where it meets South Main Street. That stop sign, I brought to their attention and it hasn't changed. It is completely invisible. They planted it quite a ways back from the corner in the middle of a homeowner's bushes that I guess must technically be on the right of way. But when you're coming in, when you're westbound on Cypress Avenue, there is no stop sign there. And there are stop signs on South Main Street. That's where the Scholes used to live. But that particular intersection is where on South Main Street, people frequently run those Main Street stop signs. So I don't know why they don't feel that it's important that the pedestrian crossing sign is visible, but not the stop sign.
We had discussed this when it happened. We talked to the contractor. We were on site. They will be moving that stop sign. That stop sign is in the right of way. There's another sign there, a pedestrian crossing.
Right.
So moving the stop sign, but when it came to where it was and how they do it, they wanted to make sure the arborist was there. They will be moving that sign. They were putting it per plan. That's where they put it. And it's
conversation that you two are having should be between the two of you at another time and place. I don't know why we're having it now.
Well, because I want to bring to the attention that the stop sign is still not there.
And it will be moved.
Okay, because there's been no stop sign at the intersection for a good 2 weeks now, which is a little concerning. As well, do they have an estimated completion date for the multi-use trail by any chance?
No. And right now, like I said, they're waiting on the material for the FlexiPave. The schedule is to put it in next week.
Sure.
So we're hoping that they'll get the product. They'll be able to put it in.
Okay, and do we have any update? Is there an update on hurricane shelters? At the last meeting, I think you covered it.
So
It's going to be my comment.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Judy.
That's fine. That's fine. I just am concerned that we were not, since it's only our shelter update is we can only use 1/3 capacity. Where does everyone go to then?
Well, let Michael answer.
A lot of people in this area in mobile homes that need to go.
Commissioner West, let Michael answer.
I asked that question specifically because we had this conversation, Commissioner West. And the answer was that the shelters are there. The shelters are a shelter there for last resort. People should be making this is from the county. You should be making preparations to either stay shelter in place or to find shelter outside of outside of that area or whatever event we have. So it should not be, they're not planning to have capacity for everybody in the city or everybody in South Putnam, because there are other shelters in the county that they can go to. That was the answer I got. Is that not what?
That was the answer you got.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Well, okay, and I kind of wanted Commissioner West to jump in. I have a couple more questions, if I can even find them here. On the census issue, which thank you for bringing that to our attention, it's very important, and a 48% response rate is really bad. Is there any way, I wonder, that we could get local organizations, particularly the churches, involved? I wondered if Commissioner Banks had any thoughts on that, because I'm assuming that we need to reach people who maybe don't have internet, or, you know, get a newspaper or something like that.
I already informed my congregation. I think that's a good avenue, though, to go, because we do, just like Commissioner DeVito said, a lot of people don't have internet and don't even get the paper.
Right, and I think, Michael, is the census stop, the hard stop date is September 30th, isn't it?
I believe that's what it is. And once again, we'll see how that goes depending on COVID. That's what's kind of hampered this. The plan pre-COVID was when I was in Flagler. Normal situation, it was they encourage people to, they send them a mailing, they either go online or they filled it and send it back. And then, God bless you, Commissioner West.
Thank you. Sorry.
They would go and go door to door to the people that did not have the internet or they wanted to reach out to. And I don't know, but it's a really good idea to get church groups, neighborhood participation works through churches and through other organizations. So if we get the word out, once again, I wanted to put on the website to at least, if people had that access, that they can go to the census page and follow up.
Absolutely, but does City of Crescent City have flyers that we could make an effort to distribute to churches and local organizations? We
can. There's lots of, there's literature from the census that I believe we can download and hand out. Because
that would seem helpful. And then in terms of, I've heard from some people that they weren't aware that they could sign up on the city website for those nice emails that we all get. It would be nice to maybe do an article for the paper or a notice in the paper and make sure that people know with the new website that that's where they can sign up for, you know, our email blast for important information and notices of special meetings. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, there's other areas we can get that out there.
Okay, and then, well, I don't know, I guess maybe I'll hold, I have some more questions, but I'll hold that till the topic that I have to bring up at commissioner comments. So I guess that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Anyone else have questions regarding Michael's report? Jay, do you have any comments?
No.
Okay.
Well, Mayor, let me clarify. I'd heard that, and I don't know where this information came from. I don't recall, but I had gotten wind that somebody, it could have come out of the connection meeting, but someone was concerned that the city attorney had been advised months ago to advise the city on 5 properties. I don't know if that's accurate summary of what was said or not, but just to remind the commission, months ago, the commission authorized me to get title reports on 5 potential foreclosure properties that the city might look at. We spent that money, $500, and got 5 title reports. I presented that information to the city. Miss Commissioner DeVito requested that I put in writing my recommendations as to which ones we might look at. I did. The next meeting presented in writing my recommendations on 5 properties. And requested further direction. And to my knowledge, there's been no action on behalf of the city commission. So whoever is saying that type of stuff, and I have several people looking into that now, I am so tired of people speaking not true statements. And there are ramifications for that. But anyway, just to remind the commission, it's really in the commission's lap on those 5 properties, awaiting direction after months.
Well, let's, as a commission, look at that. And Deb, can you put that on the agenda for September? And we'll take a look at that. Good point. Thank you, Jay.
He's got it.
Okay.
Mayor, if I could just make a comment to Jay, because he seems very concerned. Jay, that was not a topic of discussion at the connection meeting. I was there. We did not discuss any city business. It was about community meetings. It's not on you. I actually asked the city manager what happened to our 5 properties when I met with him yesterday. So you've done your work. It's not on you. And I think, wasn't that done before the new city manager came on board? Jay?
I'm trying to think.
I think you presented that information. So it sounds to me like it just kind of got lost in the changeover. Because I asked the city manager about it, and he said he would look into it or something.
No, it was. I don't think it was lost in the changeover. I think we all understood back during Patrick's term that the commission got the information. My recommendation on the 2 properties that I would maybe pursue that we could come out on financially. And it was my understanding the commission fully understood that. They'd take it up when they felt like it, or take it up at another day. I didn't feel like Patrick or anybody else was supposed to do anything.
Well, I mean, maybe we lost, whatever. I agree with the mayor. I think we need to take a look, another look at your report then, if there were recommendations on 2 properties.
Okay.
So, but Jay, I don't know why anybody would be putting that on you. We've clarified where it was left, and that's great.
Well, you know, Lisa, and maybe I'm too touchy about that, but there's been a lot put on people in the last months, and we all know it. And I don't know who says what, and most of the time don't really care. I just don't want the commission to feel like I'm just sitting around doing nothing on something that they needed to look at. That's all. No offense to anybody. I'm just
Right. Well, no, I asked this. Right.
People say a lot, and a lot of times it comes from people that never have done a thing for Crescent City, period.
Okay, well, let's leave it at that. Michael, we don't have any department reports, do we?
No.
Okay, so it's up to, we're going to move on to city commission comments, and you indicated, Commissioner DeVito, that you had some items that you would like to bring up.
Yes. The first one is, I just want to touch on this. You know, I do think that we should talk about, you know, our future meeting schedule. Are we, you know, going to keep with the same format for public comment, as long as we're meeting by Zoom? A couple of things that I think would be helpful. I'm not quite sure why when we meet by Zoom, public comment has to be submitted 30 hours before. You know, when we meet in person, people can just walk up. And as well, it would be helpful if we could upload the documents in our packets, or be so that the public can see them, or at least, have paper copies available at City Hall. And ideally, people would be able to call in. I think Pomona Park gives a call-in number. But those three things. I'm not sure why we do the 30 hours for public comment.
Okay. And I believe there is a hard copy for the public at, Deb has at the front office there, to be viewed by personnel who would like to look at the packet.
Right.
Anything else?
What about our 30 hours? We're requiring public comment to be submitted in writing Wednesday at noon for a Thursday evening meeting. I'm not sure why we have such a long prior time frame.
Well, we had a shorter time frame when we first started to do this, and we had no time to react to it or to process them. The day of the meeting, there's 2 of us doing the meeting, so that's why. And once again, we've had it in the past with people, and we've opened it up. We've got no comment this time, but we had comments last time, and we read them at the appropriate times.
Right, but requiring it 30 hours before may cut off the ability of some people. People are not used to that. It may cut off their ability. There might be some people who, think of it the morning of.
We're gonna work on the public comment, especially when we come up to hearings next month. So we're gonna be working on that.
Okay, and then on an entirely different subject, I believe it was at the last meeting, we approved, after quite a few months, it was available in March, but the commission approved the comprehensive plan from the Trees and Gardens Board that's supposed to govern how trees and shrubs are handled on public property in the city. And there were some recommendations for best practices, but there were also some specific recommendations about identifying dangerous limbs that needed to be taken care of, and also to set a process, and also mulching the grand oaks in Eva Lyons Park and Colbert Park. So really, there was $15,000 for this year in the tree budget. I wish that the tree plan had been put on the agenda earlier, which we had requested. So it's my understanding, I went to check to see, what funds were left in the budget for the maintenance of trees. And I was told that there are purchase orders now for approximately $7,000. I discussed this with the city manager yesterday and did not get much information. There's $7,000 worth of purchase orders.
I would interrupt you. I did give you that information. Once again, we had a couple of limbs. We have definitely one on Grand Rondo that needs to look at. Several vehicles have hit it. We need to take care of some of these things right now.
Okay.
They're in the public right away. We talked about the mulch at the last meeting. I said, if you get volunteers, we'll get you hooked up with somebody who can get you free wood chips, and you can spread it out. I'm having a hard time understanding. We're talking about it again.
I'm sorry, but I know that I talked to you yesterday and I know what you said, and it did not answer my questions. And I am entitled to bring it before the commission because I'm asking them and trying to make them aware of the situation. The city code gives specific responsibility to a tree and garden board of citizens and also to the commission to approve the work that is done on trees in city right of way. That's in the Crescent City Code, and it seems to put the responsibility and in a group of citizens in the commission to make sure that the result is something that we all agree with. So my concern is none of this work. There's a tree in Colbert Park. All I have is a little list that says Colbert Park tree, Dexter Beach limb over road, North Main 2 water oaks. I don't know where they are or what is wrong with them, and fee for arborist. Okay, the city manager told me yesterday that they had done a purchase order and they're hiring a company. I don't know who the company is. I don't know what the scope of work is, but the city code provides for a tree and garden comprehensive plan to be approved. It does not provide for turning over decisions to a private company. And over the past few years, the city manager, when there have been issues with trees in the right of way, has typically brought the issue to the attention of the Tree and Garden Board. And we have sat down and talked about it and talked about a course of action and a result. I've also been very concerned that apparently city staff is trimming some of the heritage oaks along 17. And I'm not angry with anyone, but we're talking about a lot of money. And we're also talking about a company that we don't know anything about, and we don't know what the scope of work is. And ideally, these issues should be brought to the Tree and Garden Board. We have yet to meet with staff, either the city manager or Mr. Harris, and really those things should be discussed. And if they were planned, they should have been folded into the Tree and Garden Board plan. But I'm most concerned about two things. City staff trimming oak trees and palm trees. Apparently they've already trimmed palm trees on Central Avenue and they have not been done correctly. They're over trimmed, which unbalances them, and it looks like the trunks have been skinned, and that could result in damage that would actually kill the palm tree. And as well, I don't think the city code calls for handing over unspecified work to a company that we're not familiar with. I don't know who the company is or what, as I said, what the scope of work is. So I would like this to be referred to the tree board so that we can make sure that it's in conformance with the plan that's already been approved.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Banks.
I'm trying to hold it all I can, but I think the people collect the commissioners, not the tree board. Mr. Commissioner DeVito.
But, well,
Citizens of this town collect the commissioners, not the tree board. The commissioners appoint members on the tree board.
right. Right. Well, Commissioner Banks, two things, and I agree with you. What I'm saying is there should be a process. Ideally, the tree board would come up with a plan. We would have talked about that and we would make a recommendation. And for a purchase, I mean, for an expenditure of $7,000 in the past, the commission has considered and approved it. And we have not sole sourced it to one particular company. So I agree with you, Commissioner Banks, about that. I just think it bears further discussion wherever it is that it's discussed.
You know, if these things are emergencies, you know, we just had that close call with the hurricane and so on. I think we are depending on the city manager to make these calls as they happen, these emergency things, and we can't wring our hands and think about it for weeks on end about the proper way to move forward. Sometimes these limbs have got to be cut down or trees have got to be removed, and they just have to be done.
Well, okay, there's two issues here. One is city staff, you know, trimming trees along heritage oaks along Main Street and improperly trimming trees on Central Avenue. I mean, this really should be done properly with consultation with an arborist. And I don't know what the scope of work is. The city manager said I don't know what the scope of work is, and I don't know who the company is, and I don't think the tree at Colbert Park is an emergency. I don't know anything about the 2 water oaks on North Main Street. And I agree with Commissioner Banks that I think it should have and could have been brought to the City Commission. This is $7,000.
Your Honor,
Yes, go ahead.
I don't want to get in the back and forth with Commissioner Vito, but we've been talking about that tree out in Colbert Park before you even got over.
I recall. Yes, sir. I recall.
Now, and it's dangerous, though, people, kids out there.
I just recently looked out there. I went out there and looked at it.
Your committee might not think it's a danger, but if you have kids out in that park playing and a limb falls and kill one of them, the city is responsible. So maybe you can relate that back to your board.
Okay, Commissioner Banks, in February, I wrote a memo to the city manager with the recommendation of the tree board about the tree in Colbert Park. We looked at that tree January or February, and our specific recommendation was that we have an arborist evaluate the tree right away. That was 7 months ago. And that the question was, could it be significantly trimmed and take out the dead wood and leave to see if there were healthy parts of the tree that could be left to provide shade for the people enjoying the park, including the children. And as well, there is a tree that we have identified on North Prospect Street that the resident of 28 North Prospect Street brought to us back in February. And we requested of the city manager that we get an arborist to look at number one, that we get the city to determine whether a specific tree was a street tree or on private property, because the boundaries are unclear. We discussed that when Mr. Kennedy was the city manager. And that we get an arborist to determine if there was a dangerous tree on city property in that block. And I guess that was decided at the February meeting. So both of those issues were brought to the attention of the city manager back in March. And yes, we would have a concern that any tree would be dangerous. And we were hoping to get an arborist out there to look at it and give a determination before 6 or 7 months had gone by. We don't want dangerous trees to sit around. Last year, it was the recommendation of the tree board, and the city commission approved. And there were dead trees taken out in Mathis Park, and there were dead trees taken out on South Prospect Street. And those would not have been identified, and the request wouldn't have been made if the tree board hadn't done it. So we have asked for Colbert Park and the area of 28 North Prospect Street to be looked at. I've seen the Dexter Beach limb over the road. And, you know, Colbert Park, I don't think is an emergency, but I think the city is entitled to know, to have some consideration over who's being hired to do this work. It's not customary for us to issue a purchase order for $7,000.
Okay, so let me address that. Departments create purchase orders all the time. I have not approved a purchase order for anything to do with the trees. There was prices solicited from a couple of companies that was just yesterday that for addressing these issues. There wasn't a plan. We had this discussion yesterday. So nothing has been set in stone, nothing has been put forward, and nothing's been approved. I have not signed a purchase order. As far as the Summit Street tree with that's on the one on South on North Summit, that has just been in the recent month that has come up where the issue, but that was referred to the tree board. So that's being handled by the tree board.
What, on North, you mean North Prospect Street?
Yes, I'm sorry, North Prospect Street. That one, we referred it, and you know that, we've had this discussion, and they were
Right,
notified.
I'm not talking about that tree at
No,
all.
I understand. I'm just going through timeframes, and also the Colbert Park tree, we met at the end of June, we walked out there. I know the report you gave, but it was the end of June that we talked about having somebody. Once again, prices were solicited on how to either trim or take them down and get an arborist. Nothing was set in stone, and this was just happened yesterday. So, and that was coincidentally our meeting an hour later. So.
Okay, well,
You want the commission to decide what we're going to do with these trees or an emergency situation?
okay, which ones, I'm not clear on which ones are the emergency.
Well, the one on Grand Rondo, that is an emergency. I would say it's an emergency. It's been hit a couple of times now. And something has to be done with it. The other ones I need to look at. We need to look at and evaluate. So like I said, it happened yesterday.
Right, and if you look at, my concern is that there's been no communication between the tree board and the city staff, which there should be. And if I had known that, I mean, we're meeting at the end of this month, we could have met by Zoom earlier and discussed this. And the code is very clear that the plan is, is to guide the actions of the city. And at this point, I don't see that happening. I don't understand why city staff is, without training or consultation with an arborist, is trimming heritage-sized oaks on South Summit. I don't understand that.
Well, we need to look at that, but I was addressing the issue right now. You talked about the other trees and going forward. We haven't done anything. It just happened yesterday. So there was no communication with the tree board yet.
Okay. Well,
Or anything with the plan. But, if you want to take care of some of these things, we're going to need to move, and we'd like to spend that, we'd like to take that money while we have the funds right now to take care of some of these issues.
right.
Or some of the trees that are in the right of way that are just dead. I mean,
Cypress Avenue, did we talk about that? There's 2 dead trees at Cypress Avenue, dead.
that was that's one of the ones city staff is going to take care of.
Yes, yes.
Okay. By the school.
Yeah, right
Correct.
out of school.
Okay.
Okay. So, and the final issue is, it's the recommendation to provide the wood chips, to mulch the trees in the 2 parks. I'm not entirely sure why the emphasis is on finding volunteers to spread the wood chips. I had someone tell me months ago that they would be interested in helping. I have not even seen them for several months. And there really aren't a lot of people that I know that are physically able to spread those wood chips. So it's something in the plan, it's been approved. I'm not sure why it should be required that volunteers do it, or it won't happen.
It's not, it was something, we talked about this several times. We've had this talk at the meetings, and we've had this talk. And every time I've brought up the idea of having volunteers, because we do have a small city staff, especially we've had a lot of rain. Mowing is a concern. We've almost got all hands on deck trying to take care of mowing and weeding and all those good kinds of things. I brought it up several times. I brought it up in public. I've talked about volunteers and getting these wood chips donated, and there's not been a comment back about there was not enough volunteers. So
No, okay. I have told you several times that I find the requirement of volunteers problematic. Certainly at this meeting, I would like everyone to know, commissioners, members of the public, yes, there is a need to put wood chips on some of our heritage trees that are suffering from soil compaction. The city manager feels that we need volunteers to do it. So if anyone's available, please step forward. And Michael, should they call City Hall?
they can call City Hall. If they
Okay.
want. Once again, I thought the tree board would kind of organize that. That was our discussion, and it was never a comment about not having enough volunteers. So if you want to do that, then volunteers can call us. They can contact us. We'll put it through to Public Works, and we can.
Well, we've not, since we discussed it, we've not had a tree board meeting. So no one on the tree board is volunteering to do that. Most people do not feel physically able to do that. And I have definitely told you several times that I think volunteers are problematic. And as well, we need to really work on coordination, because we've got to coordinate person power and the arrival of the wood chips. So that is something that really needs to be done. Somehow we need to move from talking to getting some dates together.
Okay, is that it? Anyone else have any comments, questions?
I have something, Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
I got a call from Susan Roberts. She's chairman of the committee of the County Comprehensive Plan. And she'd like this announcement given out tonight. And we'll see if we can't get it on the city website also. You are invited. You are needed. The Putnam County Comprehensive Plan for 2020 through 2035 is being revised. Join your neighbors in a discussion on the goals, objectives, and policies. This will be Thursday, August the 20th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. For information on how to participate, please call Mike Brown at 386-329-1902. And I think it will be, if it's okay with us, to put it on our city website also. I think it would be a good idea to join in this because it's anybody in South Putnam.
We'll take a contact. I'll contact them and get the information, put it on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we going to have a police report? Brief police report?
I don't know, Chief has stepped out of the room.
Okay. Okay, and there is a summary of Code Enforcement Monthly Report included in our packet. If anyone has any questions on that. Okay, because we haven't had a Code Enforcement report in I don't know how long. Okay. If we want to table the police report, we can do that because we have the stats in front of us. Thoughts on that?
That would be fine.
Okay. If no one objects.
The report is good. I just see between June and July, the number of calls were very high in July. I was something.
Well, it could have been the 4th of July, but weekend we had a bunch of calls. People were calling me at home.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Call for service. Say
Yeah.
Call for service.
Right.
In June, there was 191. In July, it was 272. Check when I was going through that, I didn't know whether there's something.
Right. And it's gone up since May. And you see burglaries are way